everyone, welcome back to Navajo Tea Time. And this month, these topics, we're going to be having guests, our husband. This is Algernon Sakiestewa, he's my husband.
And this is Lerma, my husband.
So April is Stress Awareness Month. And so we're just going to be talking about different types of stressors, how they can be motivating or how they can be toxic or, I don't know, destructive to your productivity or just your life.
Kelsey and I were talking about how we can talk about this topic. And so we decided to weigh the difference between stress as a motivator and stress as a toxic killer. So, stress can either, push a person to change their situation to be better than it currently is. It can also deteriorate their body, their mind, and their quality of life. So we wanted to have a little conversation about that and, ask the guys also, how do you guys manage your stress? And how do you see it? Do you see it as one or the other, or do you see it as both going back and forth? So yeah, let me throw it your way to Gernon.
So how do you deal with stress, Gernon? Or how does stress deal with you?
Beats me up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Physically.
Yep. No. Not me.
Not you. No, not her. She's not stressed. No. But just some things I overthink on, really. So kind of like how would that meme go? You're like you think you can hurt me? I'm an overthinker. I hurt myself. So it's kind of like that. I sometimes overthink things, like really too worried about it. That's when the stress kind of kicks in on me. But just to overcome it, I just take a break, sleep it off.
In what instances is stress a motivator?
Stress a motivator? I'm not sure how to answer that, actually. But all I can think of is just, how to overcome it, really. After oversleeping on it, just, if I'm sleeping on it too, I still think about it, but just try not to, not worry about doing it yet till I'm better again. Huh?
So what do you stress about?
Still in my spotlight.
What stresses you out?
Stresses me out. I guess if there's like most like multiple things I need to get done. Like if it has to do with chores, you have to get a project done, or you need to get another commission done or something like that. Now I have to do all these other chores I need to get done.
Oh yeah, like the whole work-life balance thing, right? Yeah, that makes sense. I totally feel that. How about you, Mike?
Basic stress.
Yep.
Routine.
So for me, I think I've learned to be a juggler, and it's been happening for a good 25 years. I've been juggling a lot of things, and always, I started off in life 25 years ago when I was thinking about, okay, this stressor is going to go away, and it never did. It just got more and more. And so I've always been, in that sense, juggling grad school, work, family, kids. And back in the old days when I used to drive clunker cars, just had to keep them patched up so they'd keep going down the road. And so as I've gotten older, I'm finally starting to, put things down and say, I think I'll get a decent car with, something that was made, in the last 5-10 years, whereas before it wasn't like that. And my experience is probably unique amongst the four of us because I went to college for too long. That's the nice way of putting it. But and I saw it with my own eyes that I went as a younger man, and I made it through grad school, and it's only in my 20s anyway that I was able to sleep 4 or 5 hours a day and put in 18 hours or whatever, and even all-nighters if it had to be that way. And I just can't do that anymore at my age. Now when I drink coffee or tea, it could put me to sleep more likely than wake me up. So the thing about it is taking care of yourself and knowing when to say, you know what, I'm done. I need a break. And the nice thing about Adrian and I has always been that I'm more inclined to, take her phone and like, okay, no more calls. Dump it in the tea. That's
Not
enough.
the tea.
Yeah. Like, well, that's it. I would always try to whisk her away and say, this afternoon we're taking the afternoon off and we're not going to do anything. And
That's why you don't respond.
I don't care.
Hey, you, we're going to dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it.
totally.
It's,
Totally.
so it's,
You meet on a date now.
Yeah,
Goddamn,
totally.
baby.
He does. He's like, get your purse, let's go. I'm like, okay. Get your shoes
Yeah.
on, let's go. I'm like, okay.
yeah.
Now that you mentioned some of that and the truck driving thing, it's like I just realized one other thing that kind of helps with my stress is sometimes out of just conveniently that just happens when I'm like really stressed out and I don't show it to her, to Kelsey. She'll sometimes just offer, to go out and go take her out to go photo shopping, and that kind of helps really distress as well. So now that you
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
funny.
I need a break. It's like just out of nowhere. Hey, let's go out, go do some photo shopping.
Photo shoots.
Photo shooting. Yeah, let's go photo shop.
Your photo. No, the photo shoots,
photo
the
shoot.
pig photos.
It's interesting, Gordon, because what you mentioned about when I think you and I do that same thing. Sometimes there's something that's going on that I know is going to affect the family, and it could be minor. We're out of trash bags. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a major thing, but I won't bug her about it. I'll try to solve it on my own if I can, and run down to the gas station and grab some bags and let her know. It's like, hey, the trash is piled up, but I got trash bags now, so I'm just giving you the update on that one. Sometimes that's a way that I try to, I guess, take some stress off of her plate, because she has plenty as it is, and she's the same way with me.
Yeah, I guess at the same time though, doing like some other work that's opposite from work, like outside work, yard work, something that helps out too. So I think last year I was doing that when little one was
kindergarten.
She was no, that was just last year. When she first started school, I just started doing some yard work, but it was still nice and cool and warm out there. So I just do some work out there, and it kind of helped me, help me through the day. So
yeah,
and I just let her sleep
because he needs the sunshine.
That's how Mike is too. Yeah, like there have been times now where I'm like, you should go work on your truck, and he's just like, I don't want to, and I'm like, just do it. You love doing this. And then once he's outside, he's playing music and he's in the sun. I notice that he's just like happy, like an hour in, he's happy and he's moved that project forward. And so there's also a little sense of accomplishment there too. And I bet it's like that too with yard work, right? Like after an hour or so, you're like, wow, this looks really good.
Smoothies next.
Yeah.
Time to wake up to laugh.
There's one thing I do for him every once in a while is I'll contact one of his friends. It's like, hey, go take him out drinking or go like hang out with him for the day, because he needs to socialize. And he thinks he hides his stress from me, but I see it.
His eyes are all.
No. It's been my wife, so she knows me.
Yeah, but it's just like letting him figure it out, or be like, oh hey, let's go for a photo shoot because you need to leave the house. I'm a hermit. I love being bunkered down and staying at home, and I could not talk to anyone or see anyone for a really long time. But him, it stresses him out, I think, in a weird way that he doesn't know how to respond to it. So I'm like, hey, go see some friends or go talk to some people or see the sunlight for a little while because you need it. Yeah.
I think since like the pandemic, since we got better internet, I started gaming in the morning, early morning, so I'm able to spend all my extrovert energy out there. So I was able to hang out with some friends I made from between UK and other parts of here in the US online. So
nice.
Kind of balance that part out. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay home with you.
He's made online friends he gets to see every morning, and I can tell like when he doesn't stream and he ends up sleeping. He's definitely a little different of like, he didn't get to see his friends and talk to his friends. There's definitely a little change in his mood.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really good to know what our stressors are and then how to alleviate that stress, right? How about you, Kelsey? How do you feel about stress as a motivator versus a toxic killer?
It depends on how stressed I get. Like there's some times where like if I have like a really short deadline, just the stress and I guess the adrenaline of trying to get it done by that deadline, I think it also kind of plays into like procrastination sometimes, or like where you wait till the last minute to get it done. But then also like if I have too many things on the plate of like, oh, I need to do this and I need to do this, but then I also need to do this, I just take a nap instead of doing anything, so then nothing gets done. And one thing for me that's really stressful is just being in traffic. It's a big anxiety for me. So I do this thing where I call it stress sleeping, where in like, you know, he's driving, I force myself to sleep. Otherwise, I'm freaking him out and making him panic. I'm like, oh my God, what's that? It's like, it's nothing. And I'm like, there was a car coming into the next lane, like, but they didn't hit us, but they could have. And so I'm just like, I gotta sleep.
Oh my God, the car. Oh, what?
So I freak him out while we're driving. So I just force myself to sleep.
I'll throw in some questions like, why are you not moving up? Like, stop anyway.
I don't know, like for me with driving, if we're not constantly moving, then I feel like we're at threat to be hit by something. So like even if it's like, oh, we're just gonna be stopped for a little bit, I'm like, no, find a different route so we keep moving, kind of like a shark. We just have to keep moving, otherwise I'm gonna die. But that's just
Once you get that lane,
that's
there's a car.
That's a severe stressor for me. It's just that. So I force myself to sleep, otherwise everyone's unhappy.
You're making me stress out. It's not even you driving.
I think for me, stress is a big motivator. And like my whole thing is like, I want to be like as laid back and cool as possible, because that is so opposite to what's going on internally, right? In my head, I'm just like, that wheel doesn't stop spinning. And so I try to like find ways to chill myself out. And a lot of times that's like with music or reading or being with my friends or going to concerts. But those are things that don't happen regularly, right? They're things that I love, that I wish I could indulge in all the time, but I can't. So I think I try to find the things that lower my stress so that I don't feel like I'm deteriorating, like I'm going to fall apart. But like the things that do stress me out are big. Like I worry about money. I worry about building wealth. I worry about my parents getting old. I worry about myself getting old, you know? And those are like the big things, like my health, you know, I worry about that. But it does motivate me to try to like make little changes to do better, to be cognizant of what I'm putting in my body, how, you know, making sure I get enough exercise, making sure I'm nurturing relationships that are meaningful, that I'm putting down old grudges, because those, I noticed that those irritations, when they're alleviated, it literally feels like a lot of weight is taken off my shoulders, and you don't know until you deal with it. And so those are some of the big things I think I worry about, is like, you know, I want to have a good quality of life. You know, I want to enjoy my time here, and I want to really like live it I want to live my life to the fullest. You know what I mean? I want to have all the joy, all the happiness, all the love, all the comfort. You know what I mean? I want to have it all. And when like for me, that motivates me to like work really hard and to seek out new avenues and to just like go hard all the time. And it's like, and sometimes like when you're in that mindset, it propels you forward faster, quicker, and you're able to accomplish a lot. But at the same time, so the small things that you're not really focused on can come to, like for example, it could be somebody who launches a criticism at you that sometimes it'll just bounce off, but sometimes it'll hit you when you least expect it, you know, or you're working really hard and you're not getting the recognition you feel like you deserve, or I don't know what else throws me off. Or someone just gets mad at me out of nowhere, and I'm like, or they're making asks that I can't follow through with, you know what I mean? Because I have a goal. And that's a big one, like with money, you know, people who like are asking for money and I can't supply it because I don't have that disposable income because I'm working toward a goal, or because my kids are my priority, or because I want to build a house. You know what I mean? And it's like, you want to give it all away, but at the same time, you can't. You have to be disciplined. And that makes me feel really stressed out, because it makes me feel like, well, am I a bad person for saying no this time? You know what I mean? So those are some of the things that stress me out. And so I think for the most part, for me, it's mostly a motivator, and I'm really trying hard to like learn how to not let it become this toxic thing that eats away at me. Like that's what I pray about every day. That's the thing I put up armor for. Like, don't let this get me, you know, like protect me, because my mind, my body, my life, my family, that's all I have. Like that's, you know what I mean? And I can't let those things like get infiltrated by this toxicity. Okay, so let's talk about stress related to work. Kelsey, go ahead.
For me, stress related to work, it's, since I'm my own boss, I set my own schedule and everything, it's more of just trying to stay motivated, so creating those deadlines. But then even in like with Navajo Tea Time, sometimes I miss a deadline of the video coming up on Friday, but there's no one else to get mad at me but Adrian, and she doesn't. So I think for me, I need a little bit more stress in work with my deadlines, because there's no one to hold me accountable if I don't finish anything, except for like maybe we don't have enough money for some bills or something. But that's all there is with me for stress, is just trying to get enough jobs with the actual bandwidth I have to pay the bills.
Same here, but one who holds me accountable to be her.
So how do you guys as a couple manage your stress related to work? I think that's a cool topic.
I constantly tell him, you don't find time for work, you plan time for work.
And I misspeak sometimes. I get all mixed around a lot. Find time.
He'll like, oh, I gotta find time. I'm like, you don't find time, you make time. He's like, yes, I meant make time. I'm like, but you didn't say it. For me, I feel like at times I can be really passive aggressive about some things. I'm like, hey, how many jobs did you get this month? And he's like, I didn't get any. I'm like, oh, and you're playing games. So I know that's very passive aggressive, but I should probably work on that. I don't know if it's just who I am. I know when we've tried confronting things head on, he tends to hide from direct confrontation. Like,
so
he shuts down.
That seems to be like a little bit of complexity there, as far as like you have a marriage and a family, but then you also work for the same business. Therefore, you kind of have, you know how they say like you have to take off one hat and put on another. And I think it's really hard sometimes for people to separate. You know how they say it's not personal, it's business. And so it's like, what if you're working from home in your home, and you say something like that as a boss or as an owner of a company or as an employee, it's okay, right? Like that's how you talk to one another. Like, okay, what have you accomplished? You know, we're going to do a performance review this morning. You know what I mean? Have you met your goals this month? That's a totally normal conversation. But I think having that be in your home, say like in the living room or in the kitchen, it kind of blurs those lines. And I think it's kind of hard sometimes to separate, like, is this personal or is this business? It feels personal, but it's not, you know? So I think that can definitely create a stressor. And I think we've experienced that a little bit also, because, you know, with the company, at first I was I don't mind delegating tasks. But there was a point there when I would feel really uncomfortable delegating to him. And he's just like, no, you don't have to feel uncomfortable about it. Like, just tell me what to do because I want to help, you know? And so what I learned to do is like, hey, let's carve out some time to talk just about the business. This isn't personal. And we go outside of the home to do that. Like, we've gone on trips, and I would say, we're going to spend this afternoon and we're going to focus primarily on YKD. This is going to be our time to talk about the company and what we want to accomplish. And then we also kind of can gauge what each person's going to do and how we're performing and how we can improve. But it's only within that set time period, right? And then that way, once that time period is over, it's like, okay, we got a plan, we're good, we know what we both need to do. Let's get back to having fun. And then we go back to having fun. So it's just like, and yeah, so I think that's definitely a stressor, knowing how to like work with your partner and also just be so closely, have your lives be so weaved together like that. But I wanted to go back to the question, how do you guys manage that stress together?
Do we manage it? I don't know. I know for me, for the longest time, like I think only this past year in 2022, I've been letting him and Urian do some of the admin work that I've been monopolizing, because that's one of my stressors, is letting other people do the work, because then I don't know if it's done right. Even though like it could be like the simplest thing of like making an invoice. They're really easy once you know how to do it. But then like, I'll do them all, don't worry, I'll do all of this, I'll do all of that, just because it was my need to control it and make sure it was correct. But then I realized, like with all of the editing I've been doing for Navajo Tea Time and some other jobs, I needed to let them be able to do that work. And then this past March, I let Gernon do the taxes. And doing the taxes is very stressful for me just to do them, but I know I'm doing them correctly or answering their questions best I can. And so when I was letting him do it, I wasn't doing work. I was just sitting at my desk, like intensely staring at them, like, he has to do it right.
Roll back.
But it's something I had to let him do because someone else needs to know how in the business. So for me, like, I guess us managing the stress is being able to carry the weight evenly. And then also we have times where like, well, I don't know, I've always been really bad at separating my work life and my home life. I'll be like doing one thing and then it goes into work, and then I'm really good at being able to manage that within myself by doing everything at once. He definitely carves out time of like, okay, this time is for my gaming, this time is for Frankie, this time is for work, and this time is for housework.
Yeah.
And he has that set time specifically. Me, I don't. I'm just like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then we're talking about work, and then we're talking about Frankie, and then we're talking about what needs to get done in the house. So we definitely operate differently, but
what's for dinner?
It's
like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, but when he doesn't have as many commissions to do, he definitely picks up a lot of the housework when I have like a lot of editing to do. So we kind of like try and balance the housework that way too, with just the stressing.
The way of the house husband. Or
Gernon,
dab. That's what it was.
I know.
I'm used to the old school stuff.
Gernon, what are some of the things you do as, you know, as a husband to kind of deal with the stress related to work?
Chores.
No, related to work.
Oh, related to work. Oh, for a husband. Work. Ooh. Make sure she eats.
Yeah.
I guess I have to throw in some house hubby chores in for that. So
do you do that because it makes Kelsey happy and it's gonna kind of, or is it just the action of it that like it gets out that, I don't know, whatever stress you're feeling, it kind of gets it out when you're cleaning? Because I know my sisters are like that. Like when they're upset or they're stressed out, they clean and it makes them feel better, because it's like it's moving something forward. I don't know, is that what it's like?
Something like that. But for me, it's with dishes.
We made a deal early on that he has to do all the dishes always, because I absolutely hate it.
Keep hearing her. Do that dishes. Eat those.
I'm a very angry cleaner. Like, I'm not mad while I'm cleaning, but like I throw things around and I make really loud noises. So when people are around when I'm cleaning, they get scared, and so I don't clean when people are around.
Our biggest mystery, I never told you yet, is like, how are those dishes not broken the way you threw them? I throw them like that and they break.
Because I know how to make things make sound without it.
Mystery. It's a mystery.
Kelsey cleans like a gorilla.
Well, for me, I have to like I have
Nothing's
to
broken.
destroy everything and then put it back together nicely. I can't
Mhm.
just, oh, I'm gonna fix the little things here. It's like, no, I have to like empty everything out, go through everything, wipe everything, and put it all back together. So for me, it's
Yeah.
always like I can't just slightly clean. It's always deep cleaning, so I don't do it often.
I know, I'm the same way. Yeah, I love deep cleaning, but I just don't have the time to do it all the time. So I do like little, like I'll do the counter today, tomorrow I'll do the floor, or it just
Mm.
depends. It's not an everyday thing though. It's like every month or something. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Like I try to be like, okay, we're gonna clean this like cabinet today, but then sometimes you can't. Like had to dig these out of our mug cabinet because we have so many mugs. We need to go through them because they're like falling out of the cabinet.
Where did we get these? Do you remember? Oh,
Their Christmas gift.
yeah, our daughter Michelle got these for us. So like, isn't that
Mona
cute?
got us these.
Cute.
So amazing.
She got another set for us too. Same Jack and Sally.
That's cool.
I know one way we like to stress relieve together is like we play games online together.
Hmm.
So we'll
Date night gaming.
yeah, we'll play games. Like we're just gonna play games all night. We're not gonna focus about work or anything else.
Hmm.
And so that's one way we stress relieve, or like we watch movies.
Yeah, it's always good to know like how you as a couple, kind of deal with that stuff. It's so interesting though, because a lot of people, they're dealing with stress and their job is separate, right?
Mm.
And like for us, I feel like we're all like, you guys work together, we work together, so it's an interesting dynamic. So let me throw it to you, Mike.
You can call it weird in a way to me because sometimes when it's that point when I'm like stressing out and she wants to go out and go do some photo shooting, it feels like it's family time, and it kind of feels like it's it's not working. Feels like it's family time. Like, okay, I'll drive. Okay.
That's how it is with solar installs, huh?
Yeah.
It's like family time. We bring the kids, they help us like load up everything, carry the stuff in, we do the installs together.
Mhm.
And yeah, it just feels like family time. It's not like work. It's fun.
Yeah.
The only reason I go out on hikes is to take photos. So it's like
Mhm.
hike family time, but I'm gonna take photos for work.
Nice. I know I used to like doing installs because it meant we get to go off road
Yeah.
and we just throw the kids in the back and just like
Hop around.
it was so
Tire.
fun.
Tie the tire, chain and tire, boom, let's go.
Did you guys ever do that where like you put the tire at the back of the truck and have the kids flopping around in the back?
That's what I'm talking about.
I haven't done that.
That's what I'm talking about.
We used to do that with my dad all the
That's crazy.
time when we went to go look at to the cattle out there.
Mhm.
We'd pass a certain point, which I think was like the Babbitt land and then like Navajo.
Mhm.
So once we passed that, he like kicks the tire out in the back and then we kind of like sit on it and try and like go tire tubing down the dirt road.
We usually just put the like gate. Well, actually, I haven't done this with our kids. I've done this with my cousins where they would put the tailgate down and let our legs dangle and used to kind of freak whoever was driving out. But at the same time, they were like, it was fun. It was exhilarating. One time my cousin got bounced off. It was really funny. We all just laughed.
That happened to one of my cousins too. He was a lot older than me.
Uh-huh.
It was snowing, so we were trying to go out to the lava hills, the cinder hills, to sled down those.
Hmm.
And he was sitting on the side of the tailgate, like this.
Oh yeah.
And we hit a bump, and he just went. And we're like, "We lost Corey!" We're like knocking on the window, and like he fell out.
Dang. That's a res. I love it.
So, what about you two? How do you guys deal with stress together with work and everything?
I'll let you answer.
Yeah, I think I like clean breaks, and I like to have like an event that will clean break something. So
Hmm.
our day job is the same institution but not in the same department.
Hmm.
And so 5 o'clock comes along and I go escort her out, and then that's the clean break. We've already discussed a little bit about some of the solar installs, or even book talks.
Mm-hmm.
Those are fun because they end up okay, get the babysitter, get the dog sitter, and let's get the house full of groceries, and then we're gonna get up early in the morning and drive somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes the adventure
Mm-hmm.
about what kind of yummy food are we going to get. If there's a plane involved, are we going to catch it on time? Are we going to be at the right gate? Is it going to change? And it just becomes, it almost reminds me of you guys gaming all night. That's us gaming in real life. It's like, am I going to get to the end?
Yeah.
Let's find out if I make it through. Did I lose my ID this time? Who knows?
Do we have our passport?
Do we have our
Oh
passports?
my God.
And did I make sure to leave, you know, a knife out of my bag and leave it in the car? You know, because you never know. And to me, all that's an adventure. Going to new cities, trying to figure out how we're going to get from point A to point B. Is it going to be public transportation or an Uber or a Lyft or a cab or a bike or a bike? Yeah. And so I like those clean breaks, and then you know, we get to the last day of a weekend job or whatever, and go back to real life, and then it's reunited with the family. That's another event. And then Monday comes around and we drag ourselves out of bed and come back to the day job. But I really do like to leave whatever I was doing wherever, you know. So work stays at the office. Book talks, when we're done. And that's it, you know. And then we go look for the next one. And then also just I really like to build into whatever we're up to. I like to have some leisure time involved. So even if we take our son to school, he goes to school in Farmington, and we'll drop him off, and I'll look over at her, and so steak or sushi, what do you want? Or are we going to go look for books, or are we going to go kick some tires in a brand new car lot and just pretend we're going to buy a car? What are we going to do? And but we I like to do that. I think it really helps keep things in perspective.
Yeah, I think we both subscribe to the whole work hard, play hard mindset, because we're not afraid of hard work, but we also love to have fun. So we try to always make sure that we have fun no matter what we're doing. And when it stops being fun, then we stop doing it. It's basically, we're really strict about that. Like, this sucks. Let's not do this anymore. Let's do something else, you know?
Let's find something new.
And that's everything. That's everything related to our work, our family, our anything, you know? The only thing we're very consistent about, whether it sucks or not, is our marriage. We take that seriously. We are not going to let anything, any kind of stress or hard times affect that. We know that we have to keep that together, because if we don't nurture that, everything suffers, Our work suffers, our home suffers, our children suffer, all of our relationships suffer, because if we can't take care of that, it affects us so deeply that we can't, it just like makes us almost useless,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that's one thing we really like. It's like, if it's a hard time, if something comes up that's really tough, we deal with it. That's how we handle that stress, is just head on. You know what I mean? That's the only way to get through it. Because so when we first got married, we were told that you shouldn't be carrying things to bed. Like, they were like, if you want to have a good, healthy marriage, you need to deal with things. You know, you have to deal with things the day they happen. You can't carry that to bed. You can't sleep with it. You know what I mean? You have to deal with it. And Michael takes that very seriously. And I've learned to take it very seriously, because I know it's good advice, but it's really hard for me, because sometimes I just want to sleep it off. That's like, I would love to just sleep it off, wake up and start fresh in the morning. I'm the kind of person that can do that. But Michael is the person who's like, no, we need to deal with this, because you know, you go to sleep, you pretend everything's okay. Just because you feel better and you're rested doesn't mean that the situation got resolved. So it's very like, let's deal with this. And so we just kind of deal with it head on, you know, and I think that eliminates a lot of the stress related to at least our life. But when it comes to work specifically, like, one of the main stresses for me is like competency. It's my own competency. I want to make sure that everything I'm doing right. But also the competency of others also stresses me out, because sometimes people aren't competent. And I'm like, why are you here? Like, come on, people, you know, can you at least just do the bare minimum and be competent? Because to me, that's the bare minimum, you know? just be competent. And when people can't do that, that stresses me out. And the way I deal with that is I vent to my husband. So he
Which is
knows,
fine.
yeah, he knows all the tea. He knows all the stressors. He knows all the people that annoy me. He knows everything, all the stuff that happens that I don't talk about in public or with other people at work. He knows.
And the key to this is she'll start venting on the drive home. And then we'll pull into the driveway and I'll just sit in the car and she will too, and she'll finish. We don't take it in the house.
Yeah, we just leave it outside.
Once it's done, then like, okay, you ready to go in? All right, let's go have a good dinner. And we have a great dinner.
We just cut it off there. Like, we're not going to take it inside. Once we're inside, that's where we relax. That's where we nourish ourselves. That's where we rest. That's a big part of it, I think, too, related to work, is I always, like, for me personally, or I think you too, we both need time to decompress.
Yeah.
So our room, we keep it dark. And so we go in our room, it's dark, lights are off, it's quiet. We shut the door and we take about 30 minutes just to lay down, and we're not having to deal with anything. And our kids know this now. They're familiar that, okay, these two, when they get home, they need a few moments before they start like making their asks. But once we're done, we feel better, and then we can go out and we can cook and we can, you know, make sure chores are getting done, and we can just relax. Sometimes I have to do homework. Sometimes Michael has additional stuff he has to do too, related not to his day job, but to other projects.
My night jobs.
Yeah, all of his
I think I
night
have 3 of
jobs.
them.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing we do, I think the last thing we do related to how we deal with stressors at work is we pray. We smoke mountain tobacco and we pray. We pray for ourselves. We pray for our family. We pray for the people we work with, because we know that, you know, if they're taken care of, we're all taken care of. You know, you're wishing well for other people. You're wishing that the things that are stressing them out, you know, they get resolved. You're wishing for their good health. You're wishing that they're enjoying their weekends and their family time too, that there's stability in their life so they can function and do good, right? And so we pray, and we pray together, and then we sing songs. And I think that really helps our stress related to work be minimized. I think those are the main things we do related to like how we deal with stress at work, because it is stressful. But yeah, work hard, play hard. That's what I recommend to everybody.
You know, the whole thing about sleeping it off, our stress, I feel like we're all just honey badgers. Get stung, we get bit by a snake, you know, sleep it off, we're fine next day.
Right? Yes, I'm a honey badger. Are you guys both honey badgers too?
I realized that when we were starting this whole question, explaining our stress and motivation of what stress motivates you, you know. It's like, I feel like, did I describe myself as a honey badger in a way?
I know, they're so awesome. They're so resilient because they just sleep it off, and they just like live to fight another day. And they're cool too because they get up all, you know. Yeah, they're not even phased.
It's what it wants.
Sleep is important.
Can I ask a question? It's a little off topic, but how do you guys do your networking together? Do you guys like assign each other tasks, or like, are you guys ever at events together and you're just like, do you guys like tag team things when it comes to like making connections?
When you go to Comic-Con and you want to see that certain celebrity, how do you do it?
We don't go to Comic-Con because I don't like public spaces with people.
When you go to Influencer Day at the Navajo Nation Fair, how do you do it? Go. I'm kidding.
I mean, I had Gurnon go, and his friend was right next to us, so we got a lot.
Gurnon was the key. He was the key. He has a friend who's a legitimate. Yeah, he's like a legitimate influencer, huh? And he got us a table right next to him. And then they were like just chatting and talking, and it was cool. Like, thank you, Gurnon. That was awesome.
That's what I say. Like, Gurnon goes out, he talks to all the people. Everyone always loves Gurnon, and then they come back like, oh yeah, we have a business, and here's our card, and you know, I tell them you can buy stuff from us, so they come back. But like, Gurnon's really good at talking to people and connecting to people. I'm just really good at sitting there. I'm really good at doing all the background work, you know, all the organizing and scheduling, and scope of work write-ups of everything. I'm really good at that, but Urian and Gurnan are really good at like talking up the company and talking to people.
We should
The
use that as
extroverts get the connections.
Gurnan
Oh,
gets
I
the
was
connections,
very
I get the paycheck. So
Feels like it's not even part. It's not even part of the plan to kind of get connections. Like, how do I do this? There's like so somewhere. Oh, I know you. Hey.
he's just really good at talking to people, and everyone knows him from everywhere. Like even in Cameron here, more people know him and talk to him than they know me. You're like, oh, this person, this
recognize
person.
them.
I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. I
I know
don't
more the people than he
I know, I
was.
remember we were at dinner. We went to dinner at the Trading Post, and he's like the one talking, making connections. Like, oh, that's the mom of what's her name's Frankie's classmate, and he like knew their names and everything, and they're all talking and stuff. And Kelsey's like, oh, hi. He's like, yeah, they went to play date. He did the whole thing. It was cool. Back to stress awareness month. Okay, so we talked about our view on stress. We talked about how we manage it. We talked about stress related to work. And we have two other topics. So the next one is stress related to loss. And this came from the fact that April 16th is Selena Day. So
Is that her
Selena,
birthday?
yeah.
Okay.
So Selena's birthday, oftentimes it's a day of remembrance for Selena Quintanilla Perez, who was a really amazing singer back in the 90s. And
Probably in
she,
the 80s too.
yeah, as a little
Maybe in the
girl.
70s.
Yes.
No kidding, huh?
That is
Yeah.
true. I recall that.
And you know, so many people love her for who she was and the kind of life she lived and the kind of daughter she was, but mostly just how she connected with her fans. And when she was taken so soon and in such a tragic way. And a lot of people, you know, they do like a remembrance of life on that day, you know, just recognizing her. And this was, I believe this was instituted in Texas first because she was from Corpus Christi. So we have Selena Day, and we wanted to talk about, like, you know, stressors related to loss as it's loosely affiliated with this. First, I want to say I love Selena.
Selena's.
I love Selena's.
Anything for Selena.
I remember listening to her music when I was a little kid. Me and my friends cried when she passed away. It was so sad. And now me and my daughter, me, my daughter, my son, Cameron, like we used to always watch the Selena movie with Jennifer Lopez. And it was I don't know, we all love that movie. We watch it, like we used to watch it all the time together. They love Selena and her music. When we go on road trips, we listen to Selena. When the Selena series came out, we watched that and loved it. Me and my daughter cried, like we always cry when she passes away. It's so sad. I guess stemming off of that, you know, there's this topic of like stress related to loss. And I think we can talk about that because I think a lot of people are going through that, you know, after the pandemic or during and after a lot of people were dealing with that. I know there's ways that we all deal. So maybe we can chat about that before we go to our last topic.
I can start if you guys like. I guess I'm the oldest one in this video right now. So I think Selena was born in 72 and I was born in 75. So we're almost the same age. And I had never heard of her. When did she pass? In 95, something like that. But I was working at a grocery store, and there was 94. Thank you.
I was 4.
Oh, you were 4. Okay. Yeah. So it was like 95. I was working at a grocery store in Santa Maria, California. And I was working the night crew, and there was a manager who came out and he says, the way they were playing her up was she was the Mexican Madonna, passed away today from a gunshot. And I had never heard of her at that point. I was like, who? And Selena, like, never heard of her. But just a couple of years later, by 97, that live CD came out, and the group of friends that I had found myself surrounded with in my first couple of years in college, they played that CD ad nauseum. And I did learn to appreciate the contribution she made to music. Now, in terms of loss itself, I'm also a bit of an anomaly probably among the group. I'm guessing, I don't know. But I did survive a lot of loss at a young age. I lost my father when I was 6. I lost my grandfather when I was 8. I lost my grandmother when I was 16. And that's the real close people. There was others as well that passed on. And it really, I think, out of survival, I think it made me very insensitive for a good 2 decades or something like that. And it's funny because now sometimes I'll just kind of get shooken awake when I'll think about somebody that has passed on. So and it could be random people that I don't necessarily I'm not necessarily a fan of their work, but you know, a deceased rapper will pop up, you know, and wake me up, and I'll just be like, man, what's their family going through, you know? Or it'll be, you know, somebody like Chris Cornell, and I'll think about that, and I'm like, wow, that guy, he went too fast. And I only got to see him perform once, when he was with Audioslave, and it's only in contemporary times, I think, more as a dad, as a father, I'm learning to try to guide the kids, because the kids have lost a lot of relatives during the pandemic, and I've had to communicate with them about, okay, this is what you're going to feel, and this is what you're going to go through, and this is where they're at, and this is our belief system, and you know, and let them know that, hey, it's okay to feel all these feelings, because you know, it's, for them, it's new, it's brand new, and for me, I guess in that's the benefit of it, I guess, going through it and surviving it, and not making a disaster of my life in the process. That's the way I see it, as, okay, this is how we're going to go forward, and this is the path forward. And but also to remind everyone around me, I'm constantly reminding everyone around me that you know, life is precious, and it's fleeting, and it can go in a second, and so to cherish the times that we have now, because it's now or never. It could be now or never. So I'm continuing to I hope get better with it, you know, to deal with that kind of loss. But yeah, that's how I've addressed these things. And the last thing I'll say on it is, I feel like, fortunately for me, whether you believe this or not is debatable, but I feel like my relatives that passed on, they're still here. They still find their ways to communicate with me, and they've actually found ways to communicate with Adrian. And whether or not you buy that, I don't know, but it's I believe it, and I also see evidence of it, you know, whether or not it's empirical is another story, but I still see evidence of it with all the kids. They seem to have these moments, and it, you know, I think about, where did that come from? That's in the DNA, or is it some way that those relatives are still guiding us to keep us healthy and happy and prospering? So, for what it's worth.
Thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's really personal. And I think it's meaningful, though, to be honest. Like, being candid, I think, can really go a long way. And, you know, for me, the stressors related to loss, I wrote it like 4 bullet points. I wrote unending sadness that comes and goes in waves forever. And that's what I learned about loss, is that it doesn't go away. Like, you're sad forever for the rest of your life. And that's something that I guess I didn't expect. You know, I thought it was going to be something that would hit and then it would pass, you know, and then the forgetting would happen, you know, the letting go, the acceptance. But it's just, it comes and goes. It never goes away. And then, like, fear of a repeat, like contagious loss, you know, when people say it happens in threes, or, you know, things like that. I get really afraid of that. you know, I don't want to lose more people. And I see it happen though like that, and it freaks me out. And then like feeling alone in pain, you know, because sometimes maybe someone passes away and those around you don't know that person, and you're just kind of like suffering by yourself, you know. And I felt like that the last few people that passed away that I knew closely, I just felt alone in it, and it was really hard. And you know, like my husband, he tries to be comforting to me, you know, giving me that space, like that shoulder to cry on, but also it's not something we're sharing. It's,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm
it's
not going through it with you.
yeah, he's not going through it with me. He's just like, okay, I'll be your shoulder to cry on. But like I didn't know this person either, you know, and so and that's one thing. And then the other thing is like I guess just the unknown. And this is primarily like for suicide. The last person who, or the last, there were 4 people who I lost in the past few years, and 3 of them were from suicide. And that's freaking hard to deal with. And it's just that unknown of like, why did they do that? You know, why was that the answer they chose? What were the circumstances related to it? And you're just kind of left alone, you know, with all those questions. So for me, those are like the stressors related to loss. And I know that I'm not the only person that recognizes that or goes through that. But yeah, what do you guys want to add to the conversation?
For me, I'm gonna go a completely different way, in that planning and organizing a funeral is stressful, like super stressful. So for when my dad passed, because I was the oldest daughter, everyone put everything on my shoulders. And my dad's belief and what he told me and my younger brother was completely different than what the family wanted to do. So like he wanted to be cremated, and they were like, no, you can't cremate the body. I'm like, that's what he wanted, so that's what we're gonna do. And so we came up with some compromises, but it was really stressful just trying to fight with your own family members to respect your father's wishes. And then all the financial paperwork and stuff that comes like directly after loss, because you know, you have to close the mailbox, close all their accounts, and just go through like their work paperwork and taxes and everything. That's super stressful of loss, and I don't think a lot of people talk about that as much. Everyone talks like obviously it's important to talk about, like, you know, the feeling of loss and knowing there's a hole in you that's never going to close. You just have to get used to it being there. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stresses of like if there's conflicting religions and beliefs in a family, and just trying to mitigate all of those. That's for me. That's the biggest stressful thing, is like having to just deal with the whole funeral process as like a 23-year-old. No, how was I? 20, 25?
25.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, everyone was like, oh, you're the oldest daughter, you deal with everything. And then the way I was dealing with it, like, no, you can't do it that way. I'm like, you put me in charge, I'm gonna do it my way. But then like you got to be respectful to everyone because they're older and they have feelings. But I was also I was on pain medication because I just had my wisdom teeth taken out.
Ooh.
So I was on those really good pain medication. So I wasn't caring what was coming out of my mouth while going to all those meetings. I had my older brother there. I'm like, you got to talk to them because I'm going to say something that they're not going to like, and I can't stop myself from saying it right now.
After witnessing that, I saw how much it could be stressful for. I see where the stress can come in from, but not from emotional loss. So, because I did lose my mother when I was younger too. So, yeah, I had to, I guess I came across the emotion part of me, just because she was my mother. But then, you know, it kind of grew on me from there. I kind of accepted it. So, yeah, and there was just always a bunch of questions like, you know, why did you do this? Why'd you do that? You know, just things unanswered. But, you know, it's like, you know what, I guess you could say deep down, kind of, you know, this might be a bit dark turn right here for you guys though, but, you know, it's like, when I die, I hope I find her and I can get my answers. So, yeah, whatever's going to be, whatever's going to happen next. But if I don't, then I don't know what's going to happen. So, but, going back to Chelsea's thing, I was like, after I seen her go through all the funeral with her father, and then recently learned from her sister she lost her husband and she lost her dad too. You know, it kind of got me thinking about, you know what, like just the whole stress thing of how they're gonna manage like a funeral. If like my time comes, you know, my funeral's like, it's like I need to prepare for this. Then this is gonna happen because yeah, I'm not more of a religious guy. Mostly for, you know, like, you know, Christianity, Catholic. I'm not even affiliating myself with that at all. My family may have, my grandmother was, but you know, it's like no, had bad experience with that. So I'm just like, no, if anyone's gonna try to convert me to that, forget it.
Yeah, for us, we're more spiritual and not like an exact like practice or denomination. But yeah, we definitely like, oh, we have to come up with a plan. So like, hey, Gern, this is what I want done. And then he's like, okay, you can do this for me. And it's like, you know, and then with my grandma getting older, it's like, what do you want done? And then tell other people, so it's not a fight and multiple people know. And that's my stressor of, is like, let people know what you want done. So it doesn't become a fight.
I'm still working on the ideas on how I want my funeral.
I want to be turned into a tree. I want my ashes made into one of those little tree pods. And I want to be a tree.
I know the company that does that. And I know where they're located in Flagstaff too.
So this recording will serve as your all's last final wishes, but
as of 3/18/2023, if there's a later date, then that one is to supersede this one.
It's like cremation, and then have a statue of a gargoyle in front of her tree, where she wants
right? So I want it hand carved.
Marble.
Still last longer. Not copper.
I want a bronze statue erected in my honor. Big wings. Dang.
Instead, she'll just get the t-shirt.
Oh God, those airbrush t-shirts.
I'm gonna wear them.
I'm writing that in my statement.
Make everybody
I don't
wear
want
them.
anyone to wear them. I'm like, you better not Photoshop me.
Memorial shirts.
Yeah. Oh, they're hideous. I hate those.
I mean, like for me, like once I'm gone, I don't have any say in what happens to me afterwards. But
yeah, for me, I'm just like, I gotta write a will to say that, you know, don't pray for me. You can just be there for me for my funeral. So that's it. You may feast, you may celebrate, but you know,
have a party.
No prayers that involve Jesus or God. So, like,
I feel like that needs to be explicitly stated, right? Because I think the person who's planning, you know, if they don't have instructions, they're going to do what they think is best. And then it might be, you know, in contrary to what you wanted, which, you know, at that time, it doesn't really matter, really. Like, I want a horse-drawn carriage. I want a glass coffin. Just kidding.
Like Snow White?
Parade. Yeah.
Snow White.
I want 7 little men.
This sounds familiar. You're gonna get into some copyright issues, guys. You better cut it out.
Hire the shortest Hopies.
Oh no.
I know 7 guys.
He said that. He's Hopi. He could say that. God.
I'm allowed to. I'm Hopi. Don't worry, be Hopi.
No, actually, we did lose somebody who was, I guess, a 5th person, and she passed away from cancer. And the way they did her funeral was, I guess the family has a family. It's almost like a family plot in the middle of nowhere. It's for their family only. It's not a public cemetery. And I thought that was really cool. And it was very private. And it was very simple. And I'd never seen a funeral conducted like that before, because all the funerals that my family has had, it's been in a church. And sometimes they'll even do like a viewing before, where there's like a viewing of the body, and then people can go to mourn and stuff. And then they do the actual funeral in a church, and then they go to a cemetery. And that's what I was used to seeing and being a part of. And then when we saw the way her family did it, I was like, wow, that was really simple. And it wasn't all like, there wasn't any pageantry, you know, or pageantry in it involved. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. I had always imagined this scenario that we actually saw, the one that you're referring to, back when I was younger, because that was another one of the one of the I think the consequences of losing people at such a young age, I started to believe in my own mind that maybe tomorrow's a day, maybe the next day's a day, and I'm like 12 years old, and I started to fantasize about if there was some way that I could just kind of like the way dogs do it, I'm just gonna go run off and I'll just be gone. And you guys won't find what happened to me.
Just go into a tree.
Yeah, just
like
go under a tree and hang out. Like, well, this is it, y'all. Going to the next level. And as I'm living within the sacred mountains of the Navajo Nation, it seems more likely that, like, oh, maybe that is an option, not my total fantasy at 12, but the reality that we saw when we could do that is that seems a lot better. My family was I can say this and it'll make people angry, but my family pretends to be Catholic, and so they do all that pageantry stuff, and and to me it's just a gimmick. Pay a bunch of money to some people and then do all that stuff, and it's creating problems, I guess, at this point because of spiritually for me and our kids, where it's breaking a fundamental law, the way that those kinds of funerals are conducted, and so it's created a lot of like I have to go fix stuff,
Yeah, we have to get like ceremonies done to fix it.
Yeah, we have to fix things.
We have to go an additional step because, like, with his family, you don't miss a funeral. When someone passes away, you show up. That's the way they believe, and you be there, and you mourn together, and you go through it together, and the main point though is you have to show up. And then it's really common practice. You go back to visit your relatives at the cemetery, right? You go back. And, in Navajo way, you don't do that. You don't walk on that ground. You don't go visit the body. You don't leave things at the cemetery. That's what they say. You're not supposed to do that. And so, when we went to the last funeral we did go to, which may be the last we ever go to, because of the consequences of it. But we were given a juniper branch to kind of wipe our footprints out of the cemetery so that, it's not. And then we also had
ash.
We had ash that we put on our shoes and on ourselves and on the kids. And then there's also like the burning of the herbs to purify, and the eat, the drink, to kind of drink. So we did as much as we could there in California, and we went afterward, we spent time with the family, which was amazing. Like I'm so glad that we were there for that, because it was Michael's grandma that passed away. And as much as I felt like we're not supposed to do this, it was also like, it's your grandma, like I went to my grandma's funeral, and I'm not going to be all like, just because I'm more informed now as far as our traditional and cultural teachings, that I'm going to prevent him from going to his grandma's funeral. It just seemed wrong. You know what I mean? And you know how they say, when you know better, you do better. So I try to live by that, but it just seemed like something we had to do. It seemed important, and so like it's a conflict, and that too I think can be added to the list of stressors, like what's appropriate protocol, and also how do you be there for your family if you don't show up, and I think that causes a lot of stress. At least I know for some family members who are just like, you're not going to go visit, you're not going to go visit the family, you're not going to show up, like what's going on, and Michael always says, I want to be there for you while you're still alive, not after you're gone. Like, let's spend time now, let's enjoy this time now while you're here. I don't want to have to like not visit you and not see you, and then you're gone and you're mad at me from the other world because I'm not visiting your grave. You know what I mean? So it's like that. So all of this stuff brings up all of that. And I think like one of the ways to mitigate stressors though, I think is like, yeah, you have to have those conversations now. you have to, you know, talk with your family now and let them know what you believe, what your wishes are, where you stand on things, and then making plans ahead of time. And that's hard too, because culturally they say you're not supposed to be focused on your passing. You're supposed to be focused on your life now. But the reality is life does end. And I think it's actually more stressful for family when, you know, things aren't taken care of. And when my grandma passed away, everything was already taken care of. They, you know, all the plans had already been made and approved. Everything down to her outfit was already purchased and laid out. Like her casket was already purchased. And my family's Christian, so to them there was no conflict. You know, it was like, this is just the way we are going to be prepared. And she lived a long life. You know, she lived into her 90s. And so when she left, she was ready to go. And then when she left, everything had already been prearranged and everything was paid for. So we didn't have to go around looking for donations. We didn't have to go around and try to cover costs last minute. It was already all taken care of. And it was done really nicely. And I think that's a good way. To me, that was modeled to me by my aunts and my mom. You know, all the siblings pitched in and they took care of it together as a family. And I kind of feel like that's something that I want to do too, is just take care of this step ahead of time so that I'm not leaving a bunch of stress or a bunch of bills or a bunch of problems for those that I leave behind, you know. And I tell the kids that, like, you know, I don't tell them like what my plans are, but I tell them that, you know, there is a plan, you know, and I do expect them to honor it, but you know, in time. But the plan is that, you know, it's going to be in a very long time, because I do want to see old age. You know, that's my goal. I want to live to be an old woman. I want to live to see my grandchildren and great grandchildren. And so, yeah.
I think for us, my family specifically, one way we deal with the stress of loss is like a lot of dark humor. Like when me and Cassidy were talking about her dad's funeral, because it was like so short right after her husband's, we're like, hey, can we go to the same place, you know, buy one get one half off for like the coffin? And you're like, we just saw them. And
Okay,
so that's one way we try to deal with like the loss of things. And we're just very, I don't know, dark humor that way, of like some of our family members like give us side eye, but we sometimes say we put the fun in funeral because we've had to plan so many.
So we'll just hire you to plan ours. Don't screw this up.
Yeah, it's like
Or I'll haunt you.
another service that Happy Accidents provides, funeral planning.
Funeral planning. Don't get along, no problem.
We put the fun in funeral.
We put the fun in funeral.
Right? And it's just one way our family copes with like loss sometimes, because, you know, if you're not laughing, you're crying. So
that's true. That's true.
And you could probably tell now that's how we dealt with it in my household. Adrian's still getting used to it.
I'm still getting used to it, because I'm just like, oh my God, that is so inappropriate. Because you know me, I got
yes, it is.
That's why it's funny.
He's always like, if it's funny, it's okay. And I'm like, oh dear. Like, are you sure?
That's what Damon Wayne said.
It's not okay.
She even got a tattoo that says like Dead Dad Club on her.
Oh, no. Wait, your sister did?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So like it's on a very visible spot, like right here, like if she wore shorter shirts.
Oh my goodness. God, that's so scary. When my dad got sick, I was the one that had to do a lot of the planning, and I was writing his eulogy, and he talked to me about what he wanted, and he was just like, wrap me in a blanket and throw me in the ground. And everyone's like, no, we have to have a big, you know, and I was just like, but that's not what he wants, you know. He literally wants to be wrapped in a blanket and put in the ground. Like, that's it, you know. And so I wrote his eulogy, and I remember it started out, my dad was awful.
Line 1.
Chapter 1.
I know, chapter 1. My dad was awful.
Dear diary.
I know he was this and he was that. And I wanted to paint a realistic picture of who he was. He is an antagonizer, you know, I kind of get that from him. He was like, he has no filter, you know, and I wanted to paint a picture like that to hopefully, you know, connect with the audience, but also make them laugh a little, even if it's just a giggle or kind of shock them too. But then, you know, of course, there are all these other things of how I view him, all these really great qualities that he has and he passed on. And that's how I wrote it. And that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, you know, to see that ahead and to say, and to have that be asked of me. It was so hard. And so I commend you, Kelsey, for being able to do that, because it's super hard. And yeah, my mom and dad are turning 60 this year. My mom's birthday is next week, and I'm just like, this morning I realized that. I was like, oh my God, she's.
And I was like, oh, that's nothing.
I know, she's gonna
They're
be
still
60.
young.
I guess she's a young 60, but still it's shocking, you know? It's like, oh my God, like, wow. And I guess for the first time that realization hit. And, you know, all my life, I always viewed my parents as invincible. You know, they're going to be here forever. And yeah, it's crazy.
One last final thing of like, when Mike was saying he just wants to like walk off into the wilderness and you don't know how, when, or whatever, how he passed. My grandma, every once in a while, will be driving. She's like, you know, when people get my age, they usually get left on the mountain and we don't know what happens to them. Wolves, coyote, mountain lion, I don't know. I'm like, Grandma, do you want us to drop you on the mountain? She's like, no. I'm like, then why do you keep bringing it up?
Why are you fantasizing about this openly?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, babe. So
No.
right there.
Did your
No.
grandma's
So Earth
Oh.
Day is April 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
I know every once in a while, or there's like a lot of people like, Earth Day should be every day. You know, those comments of why we only have one day for Earth Day. But honestly, sometimes you don't have time to, you know, focus specifically on the Earth.
First of all, it's a holiday, so you can focus. It's like Christmas. You can't have Christmas every day, people. You can't have Earth Day every day. Chill out.
Do we still get
And
presents?
that's the tweet.
Your presence is oxygen.
Be grateful.
You can breathe. Be grateful.
I still give the plants CO2. No.
Yeah, but so does everything else.
I give back.
I breathe.
Circle life.
I guess he's not wrong.
He's technically right.
So I'm going to list a few stressors related to climate change. Stressor number 1, will the human race be able to adapt? Stressor number 2, people believing it's not real. Like,
Is that
really?
still a thing?
Unfortunately, it is.
People think the
3.
Earth is flat.
I know, people still think it's like weird. Okay, stressor number 3, people not making moves to address it. Just letting it happen. Stressor number 4, not being able to afford to transition to clean energy or to other like ways to cut down your carbon footprint. For example, EVs, it's expensive. Solar, it's expensive. Other forms of like being able to live sustainably oftentimes is expensive. It's a privilege that a lot of people don't have. So I think that's a stressor. And then the last one is the last stressor, like how is it that people's inability to afford to effectively transition, how is that supported? I mean, how is that okay? How is that being allowed in this day and age, considering the consequences, right? And why is it not incentivized more or supported through things like legislation?
Money?
So yeah, money. Come on, people.
With your first stressor,
I second that.
I thought you were gonna say like, will the human race survive? And like, counterpoint, should the human race survive? But
Are we worthy? Are we?
It's just one of those things where, like, the earth will continue spinning without us, with or without us. It doesn't care. Sure, its climate will change, but it'll still be here. New things will evolve.
I mean, we do know that the earth has survived a lot. It continues to exist. It's just the human race,
Yeah.
That's what I don't know. You want to add to that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, climate change is a really big issue that I think the entire world, every individual realizes how all-encompassing it is, and it makes us have to default psychologically to almost have to ignore it, because there's not one thing that any individual can do about it. I can't go out tomorrow and change my habits, and then suddenly it's going to offset climate change. That's 7 billion large that are going through that issue.
It's sort of like, I guess, like you have too many things to do that you just end up taking a nap.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, if something gets big enough, yeah, your answer is take a nap. But and that I think is understandable in some ways. But that isn't. I'm not saying that Adrian's out of line by the point she's making. I think they're valid points, but it's just having empathy for what people are going through.
Yeah.
And excluding billionaires, of course.
I was going to ask, Gordon, what are your thoughts on this? Earth Day, climate change, or even like what are some solutions that you might know of, or things that you're doing to address some of these? Recycle? Are you a big
billionaires?
All I could say is I try.
Yeah.
We'll say we have a pile of aluminum cans that need to go somewhere, but the pile keeps getting bigger.
Well,
now it can't fit in our truck.
I just need it. It's actually it's a me problem. I need to check on the places in town.
We just need to find out where to recycle aluminum.
That's it.
We also do composting.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes out a lot of that food trash out of the landfill, and then we separate the plastics because there's somewhere at the Tuba City not recycling center, what's it called? Transfer station. Where like they have a separate section for like plastics and cardboard. I don't know if they recycle it, but we make the effort to sort it.
Yeah. So that's the only thing we do is we try to do our part for that.
I mean, I'm pissed off because I really want an electric vehicle. You know what I mean? Like I do. And I'm willing to make that conversion. I'm willing to work for it. It's just so freaking expensive. And I don't like that the Navajo Nation doesn't have the infrastructure to support it. Like why don't we have charging stations here? I've been pushing for it for like a while now, but it always falls on deaf ears because it's like, well, this is to support your own personal belief or your personal journey. And I'm like, no, this is the direction that we should be moving in. And there was an opportunity during the last administration where they wanted to set up charging stations across the Navajo Nation with some of the money that was being supplied from the government for infrastructure specifically. And so many people were against it. They just brought up all the other problems that exist and they shot it down. And I'm just like, really? Like they're not thinking about what kind of impact that could have. So anyways, I get
one person we were talking, like I was at like some tourism planning for like the area I'm in, and they're like, oh, we could put up like charging stations at some of these roadside stands, so people with electrical vehicles can start. And one lady was like, I don't have, like, you guys don't have the ability to get electricity to my house. Why would I support you guys putting electricity at these little charging stations when you can't even bother to get electricity to my house?
Because it's going to force people to stop and plug in their vehicles to charge. And guess what they're going to be doing? They're going to be browsing all these vending stands. They're going to be spending their money.
Yeah, but that still comes up.
So people can afford to get that.
She wasn't a vendor. She's not a vendor. Like she wouldn't make any money from that. She has a different career, so she's like, you guys can't be bothered to give, like, provide me with electricity or help me get electricity. Why should I support all these other places getting electricity if you can't put your own people first?
Yeah,
that was her point of like, you say you have these programs to help people get electricity, but you're not doing anything with them. You haven't proven you could make your promise on those.
Yeah. And I know it comes from a place of privilege to be like, well, why can't they just move somewhere where there's electricity? Or why can't they save up and get an electric line, you know, set up at their homes? I know it's expensive. And I know that it comes from a place of privilege to say that, which I know is going to be very unpopular, but this is Navajo Tea Time. So I'm going to say the unpopular thing. Not that.
But like out here in Cameron, because some of the houses are so scattered, the APS people and the NTUA people won't even bother. Even if you do save up your amount for it, they won't even bother putting a line out there because it's a waste to them, because it's going out to the middle of nowhere, and they won't put up their side.
Yep. I think that's one of the major challenges. And that's something that I've been aware of for many years now, is energy disparity and why it exists, and why there is a lot of, I mean, we've done solar installs at homes where there are these large electrical lines going over their homes, and these people have never had electricity, and they're elderly, and they can't plug in a refrigerator so that they can preserve their medication, so that they can have something cold to drink. Like there was this one grandpa who was like so happy when he got a solar installed, because he was like, now I can, he was like, you have no idea, I've been wanting to have something cold to drink for months. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just their reality. They don't have ice. They have to put things in the ground to keep them cool, but it doesn't freeze unless it's wintertime. You know what I mean? So and that gets me so pissed off, because I think that this is the kind, I mean, it's 2023. Like we should have electricity on the Navajo Nation. Like that should be priority number one, for like number two, actually, water should be number one, electricity number two on the Navajo Nation, so people can have their basic human needs met. And I know some people are like, well, that's a luxury. Well, the rest of the country has that luxury. Why not us? You know, why aren't people fighting more for that?
Grazing land, that's why. Grazing land.
It's so frustrating.
Not my grazing land is what they say.
Yeah. And I know that's one of the big divisive things on Navajo, is the grazing permit holders and then everyone else.
So back to Earth Day.
Yes, back to Earth Day.
What was the other stressor you listed? I guess some of the other things we do. We've been buying those reusable Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
Instead of the disposable ones, but that's taken us a while, because like instead of paying $5 for like 100, we're paying like $5 for 3, and so it's a slow transition.
Yeah, slowly getting the hang of it and trying to stay on top of dishwashing them. It's coming along all right now. So slowly, so yeah.
Yeah. What about you guys? What have you done to reduce your carbon footprint?
For a long time, we only bought used clothing. We never bought like new clothing. I put my money in buying quality things, so it's always quality over quantity. So we're not really all about consumption, like having the most of everything or going overboard. The only thing we go overboard with, I think, is like non-perishable food. Like during the pandemic, you know, we bought a bunch of beans and rice and flour, you know, things that we could like make food from. But like for me, it's all about quality, not quantity. I would rather spend more money on something that's going to last me a long time. You know what I mean? Like I like to buy things that are well made, and I don't mind spending the extra money because I know that thing I'm going to have like for the rest of my life. Like the purse I carry, I love that purse. Like the way it's made, it's crafted so well. It's strong, it's durable. It's the materials are they're you know, they're gonna last my lifetime. Like I know that purse I can probably hand off to like my granddaughter. You know what I mean? So stuff like that. Like I like really well made things. I don't like to buy trash, basically. You know, like I'm not trying to consume or have the most things. I really like to try to keep things minimal. For me, that's like how I do it. How about you?
Probably the continuation of my anti-consumerism in general.
Yeah.
By not buying anything, or you know, she bought me this, Adrian.
Yeah, he won't buy stuff.
I won't buy stuff for myself.
He doesn't. Like every nice thing he has, I bought
It's
it for
her.
him. And
It's
even
her
then
fault.
he's like, why did you do that? Like you didn't have to. And I'm just like, kind
Yes,
of
I did.
you did. Like your shoes are falling apart.
She didn't like my shoes opening their mouths to her. So like, fine. If
I
you want to
know.
be like that.
I know he's very anti like consumerism in that way, like in a very serious way. Like he's the kind of person that will, like, you know how some people like, I don't know, even like with food, like not wasting food, not consuming more food than absolutely necessary, not going overboard with things like that, and then passing those values on to the kids, I think has been really valuable, especially, and it keeps our bills down. Everyone's all hungry.
What were we saying? A couple of days ago about how but I might be a borderline hoarder, but then we said no, he's not. He's a pack rat. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But that goes back to my grandfather's teachings. My grandparents, they used to save everything, and they used to fix stuff, and they used to, even if it was completely broken to the point where it was not repairable, it was kept around for parts that could be utilized in something else. And so and I have that probably to a fault. Whether or not that's saving the planet, I don't know, but it's kind of stuck with me, and I haven't been able to break it.
Yeah, I think it is because it's a part of the reuse, it's like reduce, reuse, recycle, right? So we're doing that. We're reducing, we're reusing, and then we recycle when we can. And I think that in that way, being supportive of businesses that are launching where they do recycling projects, being supportive and buying from companies that we know only they have sustainable practices, so being picky of where we put our money. That's another thing I think we do that some people might not, but that's something we're really cognizant of. Like we're not the kind of people that will want to like just support everything and anybody, you know what I mean? It's like, no, we try to think about like, what are the values of the company? And because to me, that's a way of investing, and that's like, there is a lot of power in the dollar, especially in America. So it's like thinking twice about how things are made, buying things that are also made in America too, I think is important. Even though sometimes they say it's cheaper to buy stuff that's like fast fashion, things like that. Like I won't do it. I will not support that. I don't support any kind of products that are made with slave labor. You know what I mean? So just stuff like that, even like coffee products, stuff like that. So, I mean,
We try.
that's trying. Yeah. Sometimes we miss the mark. Sometimes we're like,
oops.
So just making, choices like that. And I know like toys are more expensive when they're all plastic, but I do try to buy things with natural materials too. And then like almost all of our furniture is handed down. We recently bought 2 recliners, but that's just because we're getting old. We need them.
I'm getting old.
But everything else though, it's like secondhand, you know what I mean? And so we intend to pass that down too, so just even our vehicles, so I think it's just stuff like that, making sure that we are just making smart choices. They're not like the biggest thing. I know we could definitely be doing more, but we're trying, we try to save energy with the solar packs. We have those all in our house, teaching the kids about energy independence. But I think the most impactful thing we do is just try to pass on these values to our kids, because if we don't do that, then what is it all for if they're not going to carry it on? If they feel like they can just be carelessly consuming all the time, or if they think that they can just throw their money anywhere without being conscious of where it's going or what it's supporting, or if they are just recklessly breaking things and not knowing how to fix them, or like, oh, this broke, I'm just going to throw it away. Like Michael makes them fix everything. Like if they break something, they have to fix it. He's not going to let them just throw it in the trash. And so I think that's really important because it teaches them the value of things. And then of course, teaching them the value of $1 by telling them they have to work. That's another thing too that I think is valuable, because if you're not teaching your children the value of $1 and how it's earned, they don't understand. They're just going to become careless consumers or brats, which is like the worst thing for the earth.
We were actually talking a bit about that a few days back. I couldn't remember
Really?
the term it was, but then she said it like allowance, like
Oh yeah.
allowance.
That's the word. I didn't grow up with an allowance. I don't know the word. What does that mean?
Yeah, our kids have to
Crap.
earn everything. Like they're not just randomly given stuff. They have to earn everything, and they earn it with their grades. They earn it by doing chores. So, yeah,
Mhm.
are working. Like two of our daughters, they work, and they have a really great work ethic, which I think is so commendable, and I'm thankful for. And I think they get that from their dad, which is great. But I've also always had a job, so I think that teaching our kids that that's really important. We had our little kids do like some entrepreneurial ventures here when we first moved here. They were caring for the faculty's dogs and cats. So they were doing
Mhm.
cat sitting and dog sitting to earn
Pre-pandemic.
money. Yeah, pre-pandemic. And I think that's really important because then they got to have their own money and spend it however they wanted. So yeah.
I think one thing we started was soap too. We like
Mhm.
got those little sheets, those little soap
Mhm.
sheets
Mhm.
for like the laundry. So we don't buy a big old tub. We just like put a sheet or two in. And then we got
Mhm.
the shampoo and condition bars.
Yeah.
So we don't use all those bottles.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then we always get our soap from Mudhead soap, our
Mhm.
body wash from
Oh,
them.
nice.
Yeah, we like theirs. We tried all the different ones like Big Sky and Nijoni soap, and we found we like Mudhead soap the most.
Really?
Mhm.
You get more out of it with
It's like a really big bar, and then like
Really?
Nijoni's like a half a bar.
Where do you guys get it?
Online.
online.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nijoni is expensive, huh? And it's small.
Yeah, that's what we did. Like it was the same price, but we got a full bar, and then hers was a half a bar, which is
Oh,
fine. She's a little entrepreneur, but
yeah.
we're like, we
Trying to-
need more
trying-
soap than that.
Trying to support.
We're a family. We need more soap.
Trying to support native businesses too. So
Nice.
try to keep
I
it
know we like
native.
to do that.
And then it's Hopi.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll try it out. I've been wanting to. I've been seeing them being promoted by Change Labs, and I'm like, oh hey, we should. But I didn't know where to get their soap, so
Yeah,
I'll
there's
go-
Big Sky soap went through the they went through the incubator with us, huh?
Yeah.
And
so-
then
cool.
Mudhead soap is somewhere on Hopi or from Hopi.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. I know we love to buy soaps, huh? Like we like to buy like fancy bars of soap. It's our favorite thing. Wherever we go, we buy coffee and soap.
Anyways, is there anything else for Earth Day? Of like, do you guys
No.
plan anything? Like, do you guys go out and clean up trash or do anything?
Anything though.
Yeah.
We'll sometimes we'll take the kids out somewhere when it's warm, and we end up cleaning up while we're there and collecting herbs and
Mm-hmm.
what have you. So it's just sort of part of the routine.
Mm-hmm.
We should go on top of the mountain with Grandma.
Leave it there too.
No, if she wants, it's her
Pick 'em up
choice.
for what?
Yeah, for what?
Want to leave her up there or what?
Leave you up
There's a
here.
Hogan.
her old home.
I didn't plan anything for Earth Day this year, but I do want to go to the lake and do a cleanup, a trash pickup, because people do not take care of the lake as well as they should. And it really pisses me off when I go over there and there's garbage and like beer cans and stuff around there. It makes me really angry with the glonnies. Yeah, glonnies, you guys should do better. God, just kidding.
Stop leaving your glass bottles everywhere.
Recycle.
Recycle. You can get some money from it. Allah. All right, final thoughts, anyone, for Earth Day?
I mean, I guess like one of your things is like the money to be able to, and like the luxury to be able to like buy more expensive things instead of like the quick thing to fix your, like I said, like the $60 or the 60 count Ziploc bags versus 5 of them.
Yeah.
It's definitely a choice, and it's more work for us, but it's something we want to do. And like, I don't ever like judge somebody because they don't or they can't. It's like, I don't know their life or what they have to do. And it's always just like for me and us, for our Earth Day, of like the different things we do to lessen our carbon footprint. It's all on us. And we try not to make other people feel bad about it. It's our choice, our personal choice. Just like religion,
I know. Do you ever, so I get annoyed when people try to make me feel bad about trying to make good choices. And they're like, oh, you're trying to be woke or whatever. And it's like, stupid. I'm just doing my part. Why aren't you doing yours? Like, they get mad at you for making bad choices. Like people, they get mad if you don't smoke or something. Like, why don't you smoke? Or why don't you drink? And it's like,
I always tell them a really sad sob story and make them sorry for asking. Like some people are like, how come you don't drink? I'm like, because my dad was a really bad alcoholic and he died from it. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, you should mind your own business.
Yeah.
Now I ruined your buzz.
I think there's a lot of ways to mitigate stressors. And I think one way is just like investing in good quality products, being less wasteful, less consumption, all the good things that we're taught, I think, in school and from our peers, and taking the bits and pieces of it that are applicable to your life. And I think just trying, I think if you make one good choice every day, it's better than making none, right? So
yeah, I guess like, like reduce that, like having to do all of these different things and just like pick one, maybe you'll just buy glass bottles instead of plastic bottles. Or like we did, we bought the bar shampoo instead of the soap shampoo. Just one little thing.
We always compost. We have a little compost bin in the house here too. We just dump all of our leftover foods we can't finish, just dump it in there. So we got the little one into that. So she's
super.
Really?
It's ingrained in her now. Like if we accidentally throw like a banana peel in the trash, she's like, wait, compost! And she takes it out and throws it into the little composting. Like, thank you for reminding me.
That, or if it's a plastic bottle, I actually missed the trash can or missed the recycling bin and get in the trash can. Like, Dad, plastic goes with the plastic. Remember?
Cute.
She'll get it. She'll get it. She'll put it in there. Like, oh yes, thank you. I was trying to aim for the trash can.
And you guys have a garden too, right? So all the composting can go into your garden.
We're trying. We're really bad at composting. We like, because it's so dry here, and compost needs to stay moist and humid, and it just dries out. And so we try. We're trying.
Well, we kind of tried, really, but
we need to figure out a better way, because right now our compost has been there for like 3 years.
2.
But we've noticed like it's gone up and it's gone down by half. So
really?
It's did something.
You're talking. Okay, I know. We have 2 of them. We have one where I just dump it in, and then there's one that's actually we had them started. So yeah, 3 years.
I'm not sure when it's ready. When it's ready to put into the ground, because you can still see the clumps of dehydrated plant material of like an orange peel or like a potato rind or something. They're just dehydrated, so they don't break down like they're supposed to. It doesn't turn to dirt.
But it doesn't stink.
But it doesn't stink.
So that smells really earthy.
That's important.
Yeah.
So I was actually curious about that. Like, does it smell up your?
No, if it starts smelling rotten, then it went bad and something went wrong with the composting. But if it just smells like earth or dirt or like right after it rains, then it's good.
It's
not supposed to smell like trash.
It does what it's told.
That's cool. All right, so any last pearls of wisdom for our viewers who are watching this episode regarding stressors?
Sleep. Go to therapy if you can't control it.
For me, I think physical activity is really important for stress relief. This could be like regular physical activity, like running or exercising. It could also be physical activity like cleaning.
I think one other thing I learned with like work is being able to like rest between work.
Yeah.
It's like called the Pomodoro method or whatever. Like you're working and then you take a time to actually take an actual break. And then just learning what you like to do during those breaks, or what's restful to you, what like you do it and you feel energized or reinvigorated, instead of like, oh, I did this work and I watched like 10 minutes of TikTok and now I'm just feeling tired. Or like, maybe going for a walk or reading something is restful to you guys or whoever is listening,
Yeah.
Just being able to find what works for you and not feeling sorry of like, hey, I need to take a nap or I need to take a walk. It's okay. Unless, you have a boss that tells you it's not, but then you should find a good job. Anyway, so
just hope you figure it out. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.
Yes, that's important.
Leave a comment.
Oh yeah, like, share, subscribe. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers. We already got to the 4,000 watchtowers. So we need 1,000 subscribers before we can start making money.
Awesome.
Yay.
So if I'm the 1,000th subscriber, I want a free t-shirt or a mug or something like that.
I think we'll do another giveaway. Yep. So good luck, everyone, with managing your stress. We dropped a few pearls of wisdom here, stories, and we hope you guys all take care of yourself this April and enjoy the rest of your month. And again, thank you for supporting Navajo Tea Time.
Bye.
She just smashed it into his face. Yeah.
Not a very Navajo friendly. It's like a weird label you're putting on yourself.
They protect us, they guide us. You know, and my father, he worked in law enforcement, so he was.
You witnessed police pulling over cars.
If you got to slap a senator, you slap a senator. Incorporating language and cultural aspects into. Who's your celebrity crush?
Pass.
It's at a point where you're just like, what am I doing?